Good morning and welcome, whoever and wherever you are, to worship with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura. We are a community of many beliefs, identities, origins, sexualities, and genders, and all are welcome. We come together to keep love at the center of our worship and our lives. No matter who you are or how you are joining us today, via the wonders of technology like Zoom, or here in this room in person, we are very glad you are here. I am Worship Associate Xena Kingshill, and I am joined this morning by Worship Associate Maureen Daley. Our minister, the Reverend Dana, is out of the pulpit this Sunday. I saw her lurking around, so you might find her. Our service today is a grand collaboration as we reflect on tomorrow's holiday, Labor Day, and think of careers we may or may not love, and how those careers may or may not influence the work we do here in our beloved community. Today, we are highlighting stories of work life and volunteer life from worship associates, past and current. You will see that our ranks fall into three general categories that are not exclusive of one another. These are as educators, musicians, and business leaders. For me, my best working years were spent as a business owner providing pension consulting services to other small business owners. My favorite part of my work was teaching my clients about their retirement plans and how to engage their employees in the idea of saving for retirement. Many times I was presenting to only one or two people, but other times, often, I was put in front of groups. I love creating the presentations and giving them, and that translates easily to what I do here for all of you by volunteering as a worship associate to help create and complement our worship services. So I asked two questions of many worship associates, past and present, as I could find, and their responses are the basis for today's service. The two questions are, what part of your career gives or gave you the most satisfaction and confidence in yourself? And does serving as a worship associate give you a similar sense of satisfaction and confidence? Or put more simply, what is it you love about being a worship associate? So let's find out what the answers were given. But first, I have to go through a few announcements. We thank all of those sitting in the section of seats nearest the open windows for wearing masks. That is much appreciated by those who are more comfortable masking amongst others while in the sanctuary. The auction. Get your donations for the upcoming church auction in now. The kickoff party is happening October 5th. Remember, community events such as dinners, walks, talks, and game nights are always appreciated and easy to host. Donation forms and more information will be in Berg Hall after the service. And there's UU the Vote. Get those letters written and sealed. Pick up packets in Berg Hall after the service or stay and write your notes together. Next Sunday, September 8th, is the final push to get out more than 4,000 letters to folks in the various swing states. Remember, every vote matters. And Camp de Benneville Pines has a wonderful opportunity for all of us with fellow UUs up at the beautiful camp in the mountains. The Channel Islands LA Valley Cluster Retreat will be from September 27th through the 29th. And we have David Barker here today who will be out there in the hall. He's raising his hand over there. He's got registration forms and all kinds of extra information about these camps. So if you missed any of this or want to know more, let me remind you to refer to all the announcements that show up in our weekly email newsletter, UUCV This Week. Today's opening words are adapted from Our Work Has Just Begun by Emily Richards. Our work here has just begun. The work of holding one another and this community in love. The work of trusting that we are on the right path. The work of believing that what connects us is stronger than what separates us. The work of engaging in that which makes us whole. The work of deeper understanding and commitment. The work of this beloved community. A beloved community of which we are all part. A place where we are welcomed, respected, valued, cherished. A place where we belong. Let us enter sacred space.
I am Worship Associate Maureen Daley, wishing you a beautiful Sunday here in the sanctuary, or wherever you may be finding us. My career as a speech-language pathologist is a blessing to me. I love the focus on service and effective communication, as well as the ability to weave music and literature into my work. Serving as a worship associate allows me to do these same things in the presence of my beloved church community. And now, we invite those who are Zooming or streaming into this service to light a chalice or candle at home, as Xena lights the chalice of our free faith here in the sanctuary. Honoring Our Labors by Florence Kaplow. In recognition of Labor Day, we light this flame to honor all work, including the work of our hands and our backs, in gratitude for all the laborers that support our world, and for all those who boldly continue the work of justice, equity, and peace.
Our call to worship today is a reading by Dorothy Day, adapted. People say, "What is the sense of our small effort?" They cannot see that we must lay one brick at a time, take one step at a time. A pebble cast into a pond causes ripples that spread in all directions. Each one of our thoughts, words, and deeds is like that. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Carolyn Bjerke, and I'm honored to be serving this church as the music director. Our opening hymn is Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. Please rise in body or spirit. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song.
Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
I'd like to invite our young folks to come forward and join me for the time for the child in all of us. Good morning. Today's story is Rosie Revere Engineer by Andrea Beatty, illustrated by David Roberts. This is the story of Rosie Revere, who dreamed of becoming a great engineer. In Lila Greer's classroom at Blue River Creek, young Rosie sat shyly, not daring to speak. But when no one saw her, she peeked in the trash for treasures to add to her engineer's stash. And late, late at night, Rosie rolled up her sleeves and built in her hideaway under the eaves. Alone in her attic, the moon high above, dear Rosie made gadgets and gizmos she loved. And when she grew sleepy, she hid her machines far under the bed where they'd never be seen. When Rosie was young, she had not been so shy. She worked with her hair swooping over one eye and made inventions for uncles and aunts, a hot dog dispenser and helium pants. The uncle she loved most was Zookeeper Fred. She made him a hat to keep snakes off his head, from parts of a fan and some cheddar cheese spray, which everyone knows keeps the pythons away. And when it was finished, young Rosie was proud. But Frank slapped his knee and he chuckled out loud. He laughed till he wheezed and his eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who stood there embarrassed, perplexed, and dismayed. She looked at the cheese hat and then looked away. "I love it," Fred hooted. "Oh, truly I do." But Rosie Revere knew that could not be true. She stuck the cheese hat on the back of her shelf, and after that day, kept her dreams to herself. And that's how it went until one summer day, autumn day, her oldest relation showed up for a stay. Her great-great Aunt Rose was a true dynamo who worked building airplanes a long time ago. She told Rosie tales of the things she had done and goals she had checked off her list one by one. She gave a sad smile and she looked to the sky. "The only thrill left on my list is to fly. But time never lingers as long as it seems. I'll chalk that one up to an old lady's dreams." That night, as Rosie lay wide-eyed in bed, a daring idea crept into her head. Could she build a gizmo to help her aunt fly? She looked at the cheese hat and said, "No, not I." But questions are tricky and some hold on tight, and this one kept Rosie awake through the night. So when dawn approached and red streaks lit the sky, young Rosie knew just how to make her aunt fly. She worked and she worked till the day was half gone, then hauled her cheese copter out onto the lawn to give her invention a test just to see the ridiculous flop it might turn out to be. Strapped into the cockpit, she flipped on the switch. The helio cheese copter sputtered and twitched. It floated a moment and whirled round and round, then froze for a heartbeat and crashed to the ground. Then Rosie heard laughter and turned around to see the old woman laughing and slapping her knee. She laughed till she wheezed and her eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who thought, "Oh no, never, not ever again will I try to build something to sputter or spin, or build with a lever, a switch, or a gear, and never will I be a great engineer." She turned around to leave, but then Great-Great-Aunt Rose grabbed hold of young Rosie and pulled her in close and hugged her and kissed her and started to cry. "You did it! Hooray! It's the perfect first try. This great flop is over. It's time for the next." Young Rosie was baffled, embarrassed, perplexed. "I failed," said dear Rosie. "It's just made of trash. Didn't you see it? The cheese copter crashed." "Yes," said her great aunt, "it crashed. That is true. But first it did just what it needed to do. Before it crashed, Rosie, before that it flew. Your brilliant first flop was a raging success. Come on, let's get busy and on to the next." She handed a notebook to Rosie Revere, who smiled at her aunt as it all became clear. Life might have its failures, but this was not it. The only true failure can come if you quit. They worked till the sun sneaked away to its bed. Aunt Rosie tied her headscarf around Rosie's head and sent her to sleep with a smile ear to ear to dream the bold dreams of a great engineer. At Blue River Creek, all the kids in grade 2 build gizmos and gadgets and doohickeys too. With each perfect failure, they all stand and cheer, but none quite as proudly as Rosie Revere. The end. Let's sing our children out to their RE classes. If you will rise and face the center and form a bridge of love. If you are new, just follow along.
We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go.
Each Sunday, this congregation gives away our collection to an organization in the larger community or to funds that help people in our own church. Those at home can give through the link posted in the chat or by texting to the number on the screen. Folks here in the sanctuary can also text to give or can drop cash or a check in the box back there at the back of the sanctuary after the service. Our offering today goes to Mercy House to help people move off the streets or river bottom and back into housing. Mercy House operates the Arch, an emergency shelter in Ventura that serves 55 single adults and their pets, and the Oxnard Navigation Center, which serves 110 people and their pets. Mercy House offers clients a dignified place to be as they and their case managers take the necessary steps to move them into permanent housing. While at Mercy House, each resident receives not only 3 meals a day and a safe place to keep their belongings and to sleep and shower, but also case management to help them get into housing and resource referrals to help ensure they will be able to stay housed. Mercy House is proud to say that both locations are low barrier shelters that do everything possible to meet clients where they are mentally and physically. Your donations today will go toward helping provide clients with everything they need to transition to stable housing. $50 can provide the bedding for 5 beds. $100 can provide bath towels and washcloths for 40 clients. $500 can provide a computer for clients to do career development and job searches while at the shelter. And $1,000 can provide 2 beds for clients to sleep on at the shelter. Thank you for giving generously to this great cause, as you always do.
The offertory today is called We Hold These Truths, and it uses the word from the Declaration of Independence, self-evident, quite a bit. It got me kind of stopping and thinking about what that meant. And the dictionary says self-evident means something that is so obvious that you need no proof. And this song talks about the dreams that are self-evident in our country. Hopefully self-evident, yes.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. We are governed with our own consent. We can afford to be indifferent, so raise up your voice and don't relent. We hold these truths. We hold these truths. We hold these truths self-evident. People are born for equality. Ours is the land of the brave and the free. We won't be deterred from our destiny. Our strength is in our diversity. We hold these truths. We hold these truths. We hold these truths self-evident. Government by the people is our birthright. We must stand up to the money and might. The poor and oppressed will have justice if together we stand and we fight a good fight. We hold these truths. We hold these truths. We hold these truths self-evident. We hold these truths. We hold these truths. We hold these truths self-evident. Self-evident. We won't relent.
Carolyn, we are always grateful for the generosity of this congregation, which helps us build and weave together a tapestry of love we call community.
The Worships Associates ministry is composed of a diverse group of people. However, there are some common traits that we have found. There are always educators on the team, 5 out of 8, that's more than half, of the current worship associates are educators. And it wouldn't surprise me if the business people in our group described themselves as educators as well. Jim Merrill is out of the country today, but he sent these thoughts regarding his work. Jim says, "During my professional career at Oxnard College, I worked with thousands of students, over 37 years of teaching and coordinating. I hope that I did them more help than harm. I also served as a department chair, helping to coordinate the development and offerings of several disciplines. The career from which I retired is one of the joys that keeps me going. My service to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura is, surprisingly, long, if not sometimes deep. I have served UUCV in a bunch of ways, including stints on the board, in religious education, teaching the regular curriculum, as well as coming of age and OWL. Governance roles aside, I think that supporting worship is probably the source of my greatest satisfaction. Serving as a worship associate fulfills part of what initially drew me and my family to UUCV. And now, I welcome to our pulpit a reflection for today from another educator, Sue Brinkmeyer.
My mom was an elementary school music teacher, and I knew in kindergarten that I wanted to be a teacher too. And I never wavered in that conviction, though the vision did grow more specific over time. My love of language and of the power of words to inform, transform, and transport me shaped my goals, as I found delight in the imagery and metaphor within classics like this Emily Dickinson poem. There is no frigate like a book to take us lands away, nor any coursers like a page of prancing poetry. This traverse may the poorest take without a press of toll. How frugal is the chariot that bears the human soul. Love of lines like these carried me to Occidental College as an English major, and I was so happy there that I added staying on at a college campus to my career goals. However, an elite college like Occidental, where students come in with advanced skills and most with privileged backgrounds, did not feel right for me. I found myself called to teach, like Jim, instead at a community college, open to all students, regardless of preparedness, means, or background. It became my goal to use the world of ideas and the power of critical thinking and precise language use to help these students create the lives they came in seeking for themselves. And for the next 34 glorious years, I watched my students grow and blossom in pre-college level classes like spelling, beginning reading and writing, and all levels of English as a second language. We celebrated together as new worlds opened up for them in college level classes like world literature, children's literature, and creative writing. And as they honed their abilities to think clearly, express themselves powerfully, and see issues from a variety of perspectives in classes like composition and literary analysis, world mythology, and creativity, culture, and society. All classes I got to teach, some as part of a team with colleagues from other disciplines, some as part of a study abroad program in Mexico or France. These were experience-rich ways to broaden my students' horizons, and I loved being part of it all. Right up until the day I retired back in 2005, a shocking 19 years ago. Leaving paid work behind, I, together with my husband Kent, then a recently retired librarian, set off for a 3-year odyssey through the United States and Canada in an RV and a 3-month trek through Europe to see in person more of the world that we had previously enjoyed primarily through the written word. When we settled here in Ventura, late in 2008, I find I was still called to do something with my life that not only would give me my best life, but also help others live their best lives. So, in part looking for others who were similarly motivated, Kent and I joined this church. Soon, I was chairing a multitude of committees at UUCV and beyond. The Social Action Committee, Lift Up Your Voice to End Homelessness, InReach Outreach, Ventura's Social Services Task Force, Oxnard's Homeless Commission, and a charity to which this church has been so very generous, Ventura Homeless Prevention. Then, a few years ago, I became a worship associate. Much of what I love about this part of my volunteer work is what I loved about teaching. I get to craft or co-lead worship services that, I hope, cause people to think one more time, maybe slightly differently, about the world or about how they want to live their lives. I get to select and to share great writing, putting my feelings and interpretive skills into it as I do. Best of all, I get to sit up front and see you all come in and to feel my heart swell again with the love that I feel for this, my church family. Labor Day is a day of respite from work for the people who break their backs or hearts picking our food, caring for the ill, protecting us from fire or crime, or making, transporting, or selling the goods we use every day. I honor each and every one of them, each and every one of you, for the labor that, whether paid or volunteer, has been and continues to be, for me, truly a labor of love. Happy Labor Day to you all.
Now is the time in the service when we hold up the great joys and sorrows that grace our lives. Sometimes our work gives us joy, other times sorrow. Our presence in the workplace is, or was, like placing stones in water. The ripples made are felt throughout the community. We place stones in water here for both the celebrations and sorrows in our hearts. You can submit a joy or sorrow for sharing via a link on the website uuventura.org or a link in our Thursday email bulletin, UUCV This Week. Those received by 8 o'clock on Saturday night will be shared the next Sunday. I invite you now to speak into the gathered community or write into the Zoom chat the names of those you wish to celebrate or memorialize, or those in need of the loving embrace of this beloved community. Maureen just placed one final stone in the water for all the joys and sorrows yet unspoken in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. May we be truly grateful for all that is our life.
Please remain seated as we sing Grieve Not Your Heart.
Grieve not your heart for want of place
Our reading is Blessing of Your Work by John O'Donohue. May the light of your soul guide you. May the light of your soul bless the work you do with the secret love and warmth of your heart. May you see in what you do the beauty of your own soul. May the sacredness of your work bring healing, light, and renewal to those who work with you and to those who see and receive your work. May your work never weary you. May it release within you wellsprings of refreshment, inspiration, and excitement. May you be present in what you do. May you never become lost in the bland absences. May the day never burden you. May dawn find you awake and alert, approaching your new day with dreams, possibilities, and promises. May evening find you gracious and fulfilled. May you go into the night blessed, sheltered, and protected. May your soul calm, console, and renew you. I invite us now to close our eyes and get comfortable in our seats as we move into this time of silent reflection and contemplation. As we breathe a few nice deep breaths together, we quiet our minds. We let go of the concerns of the day, the week behind us, and the week ahead of us. We simply follow the empty breath, find our center, and open our hearts. Breathe in, breathe out.
The Worship Associates ministry and musicianship seems to go hand in hand. 6 out of 8 current team members are musicians. That's 75% of the team. 4 of us are in the pop-up choir today. And the pop-up choir, this is our last performance of the summer. We have been rehearsing all summer. People come when they can, sing when they can. Sometimes the group is small, sometimes larger, always enthusiastic. Today's musical offering is a challenge, to put it mildly. We hope you will enjoy it.
Thanksgiving.
Business careers are also well represented in the Worship Associates ministry. Currently, 3 out of 8 members of the team have or had business careers. Former members also represented business. Jerry Mendelson is not here today, but submitted these thoughts. In my working career, I was a real estate broker, primarily helping families with their housing needs. Insofar as my thrust is to be of service to others, this career fit the bill, particularly when it was young families I assisted in getting their first homes, patiently guiding folks through what is often called the biggest purchase of their lives. Gave me great satisfaction. I humbly guess it showed, as most of my career was built on referral business from others. Having been a worship associate, that same desire to be of service carried me through the 3 years I served. In this circumstance, it was the wonderful environment of being around like-minded people of character and integrity that made the difference for me. Having always enjoyed public speaking, the functions of helping craft a Sunday worship and then delivering it were satisfying and made me feel that I made a difference at UUCV. And now, I welcome to our pulpit a reflection for today from a former business leader, Sandy Atkins.
What a fun assignment to reflect back on your career after many, many years. And to think about what brought me to this place as a worship associate. The more I think about it, the more I have recognized that my brain was made for a buffet of things to do. Unlike Sue, I had no idea when I was growing up what I would do or be. I thought of all kinds of things. You could call it ADD. We didn't have that word or that concept when I was young. I used to be young. But later, when I had experienced some success, my mother said, "I can't believe it, my little scatterbrain." It's like, I never thought of myself that way, but it's interesting to know she did. But really, it's been a life of discovery, finding things out about myself and about the world, and figuring things out in general to make the world a better place. The first thing I discovered was that I was good at languages. I discovered this in high school, and kind of anything I could do it well. So the music in my brain and the words in my brain kind of come together in language. So after college, where I majored in Spanish and psych, I moved to Mexico. I got on a bus one day and wound up in Mexico. It was kind of weird. And stayed for a couple of years. And I worked as an English teacher and also as a musician. Then after that, I could spend hours talking about that because it was so much fun for a 21-year-old. But I moved to DC, and originally I was studying translation, but then I got work as a translator and a manager of a technical information service for development workers. And that was, your 20s are where you kind of discover a lot of stuff about yourself. So that's where I discovered that I loved variety, the variety of questions, because we would have people write in from Africa asking about, there's a lot of cockroaches here, what can we do with them? It's protein, these people need protein. Or, in Central America, we have a lot of mangoes, but they're so slimy and slippery to get the pits out of. We want to have a local business. And so we had volunteers who answered the questions. And this one guy gave this beautiful picture, detailed picture of a paring knife. I discovered that I was good at giving presentations, and it was kind of odd because the way I discovered it, because I didn't grow up in public, out there kind of, and they put out the lights for me to give a slideshow. And as soon as the lights were out, I could do anything. So I decided that I could do it with the lights on. And from then on, I gave a lot of presentations throughout my career. And of course, that's how I got up here to being a worship associate. And then I discovered that I was pretty much fated to be a manager, because anything I joined, I wound up being in charge of. And as being a manager, you get to exercise your whole brain, because my brain is like I said, it's kind of ADD. And you get to do the content of the work and exercise your empathy for the staff and help them develop and do budgets and write and plan, all kinds of stuff. But at the end of that career, I discovered that I didn't like traveling overseas for work. It's kind of lonely, and I decided I'm a little bit more of a homebody, and I'd rather have a career I can live with and be with. So then I thought about, what do I want to do instead? If I had a mission, it was just to make life better for people, preferably people who needed something I had to give and couldn't provide it for themselves. So then I thought about family, and my family, it was very old people heavy. By the time you got down to my father was an only child, my mother was one of two, I was one of two, and that was the end of it. So, but I loved my old people. And then I found out that I had been working in population planning at one time for international work, and that the aging of the population was creating a need for people who could take care of the older people who had become less independent. So I figured there'd be plenty of work in that, and I got a master's degree in gerontology and long-term care administration. My first job was at Monte Vista Grove Homes in Pasadena, which was for retired Presbyterian ministers and missionaries. And lo and behold, they kept on inviting me to church. Come to our meeting on Thursday, our prayer group, our, whatever. And I said, I can't do that. So I became a UU. I walked down the road and joined Troop Church. I lived close enough that I could walk to church. And then it turned out that the place I worked, Monte Vista Grove Homes, is where Xena's great-grandparents had lived. And later I lived in the place where her grandparents lived. But just for that ADD part of me, what is it like to run a retirement home? It's a transportation service, a restaurant, an apartment building, a clinic, a nursing home, a social service agency, a garden, and everything else to ensure the comfort and the safety and well-being of the residents. Could anything be more ADD appropriate? But really, a big essential part of it was to foster community among the residents and staff. So like a church, no? I think the most satisfying statement anybody ever made about living in a retirement home was an older gentleman, well, they were all older, I guess, but a gentleman who had really resisted coming in to the Scripps home in the Scripps home in Pasadena, where they had essentially one room and a bathroom, but as a couple, they had two rooms with a bathroom. His wife had had a stroke, so he had to come in, though he was pretty able. And after a year, in spite of not wanting to be there in the first place, he grabbed the microphone out of my hand during morning announcements and said, I didn't want to come in, but what I finally realized is out there, I'm just an old man, and in here, I'm somebody. Like a church, like a community. So that was a big success. My work in retirement communities ended when our family moved to Minnesota. And it was about time, because I needed to do something a little more intellectual and a little less people-oriented, a little less people-oriented. And the responsibility of being 24/7, being in charge of the lives of hundreds of people and staff, it had gotten to be too much after 15 years. So then I did other things in aging, long-term care administration and management gives you qualifications to do kind of anything for older adults, disabled adults, and planning and all of those things I got to do. So most of the rest of my career was about building systems to support low-income people who needed services to stay well and safe in their own homes, even at the end of life. So I really developed my public speaking chops as a executive director of Hospice of Pasadena. And one of the jobs was to go around the community talking about end-of-life issues. And you can just imagine going to a Rotary lunch meeting to talk about dying. So I always started every talk with, okay, tell me, what's the lifetime chance of dying? 100%. Can we agree on that and move on? So that was, again, very satisfying because we really were helping people at the end of their life, fulfill wishes and do what they needed to do and try to get to them before like the last 2 days, which all too often is what happens with hospice. And then finally, at Partners in Care Foundation, where I spent the last 17 years of my career, Sue had that straight line, and I'm like, I was a senior vice president. I had decided that it's just too much stress for my little body to be number one, so I was happy being number two most of my career. I ran the research center and wound up writing proposals for like millions of dollars to start new programs. And then when we got the money, I would do the planning and start the program and then hand it off. I was like the handoff queen. So what ties all of this to the content of being a worship associate is the awareness of the preciousness and fragility of life. When we read beautiful, meaningful words, it ties us together, but also connects us to all people of all time and to our similarly precious and fragile earth. Just about the best thing, just like Sue, just about the best thing about being a worship associate is just looking out on you and seeing you sway with the music or nod your heads, occasionally tear up. Close your eyes and wave and smile. So beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy, and thank you to everyone today who contributed to the reflections in this beautiful service. Our closing hymn is Building a New Way. Please rise in body or spirit. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. Peace and freedom is our need. We have freed our every need. We can feed our every need. Sailing water is the sea. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these
Please join me in reading the words on the screen as we prepare to extinguish our chalice. Extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. Those we carry into our lives until we are together again.
All of you here in the sanctuary today are invited after the service for coffee, tea, bagels, and conversation in our community, Berg Hall, through those doors on over there. While you're there, you might want to drop by the big round table with a welcome center sign overhead to visit with friendly folk waiting to say hello. You can also get information about the auction, UU the Vote, and even dependable Pines over there in that at that table or at the nearby tables. There's going to be lots of activity in there, trust me. On your way out of the sanctuary, we remind you that you can put cash or a check in the donation box at the back of the room. I hope those of you joining us on Zoom will also hang around and visit with one another and with folks in Berg Hall who can join the conversation on the giant TV screen that's over there in the hall. So today, I leave you with these words from Martin Luther King Jr. Everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. Go forth and serve, go forth and love, may it be so.